Imagine this for a moment. What if the entire social contract between men and women that held society together for thousands of years has quietly shattered in less than 2 generations, and almost no one in mainstream media is willing to admit it's happening right in front of our eyes? What if millions of decent, hardworking men have looked at the risks, the rewards, the lies, and the blatant disrespect, and collectively decided that walking away isn't just an option anymore? It's the only rational choice left? And what if by the time most women finally wake up to the consequences of what they've demanded, supported, and celebrated, it's already too late to put the pieces back together? Stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to lay out exactly why this mass exodus of men is accelerating, why women have no one to blame but themselves and the ideology they embraced, and the devastating ripple effects that are only just beginning to hit. And trust me, the numbers and stories I'm about to share will probably shock even those of you who think you've seen it all. If you're getting value from this and you want more no holds barred, straight talking angry guy content that cuts through the bullshit, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear this, and hit subscribe with notifications on so you never miss an upload. Also, fellas, if you're tired of being financially raped in divorce courts, tired of watching your wealth evaporate because you didn't know how to protect it, or if you simply want to learn how to build real, unbreakable wealth in this chaotic world, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. It's linked in the description below. That's where I teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and safeguard crypto and other assets so no one can ever take what's yours again. Click that link and get started today. Let me take you back to how we got here, because this didn't happen overnight. This is a story that's been building for decades, and if we're honest, it started with good intentions that got hijacked and weaponized against men on a scale we've never seen before in human history. In the 1960s and 1970s, feminism promised women liberation, equality, and freedom from oppressive traditional roles. Fair enough. Nobody reasonable is arguing that women shouldn't have rights, votes, jobs, or control over their own bodies. But somewhere along the line, the movement stopped being about equality and turned into a zero-sum war where every gain for women had to come at the direct expense of men. And women, by and large, cheered it on. They celebrated no-fault divorce laws that turned marriage into a one-sided financial trap for men. They supported family courts that treat fathers like disposable ATMs and walking sperm donors. They swallowed the narrative that men are inherently toxic, privileged oppressors who need to be taken down a peg or 10. Fast forward to today, and we're living in the aftermath. Men looked around and asked a very simple question. Why the hell would I sign up for this? Why would I risk half my life savings, my future income, my house, my kids, my reputation, and my mental health on a system that's openly rigged against me from day one? And when men started asking that question out loud, what happened? They got called bitter, losers, incels, man babies, fragile egos, anything to avoid addressing the actual math and the actual reality staring everyone in the face. Let's talk about the raw numbers, because feelings don't change facts. Right now in the United States, men initiate about 70 to 80% of divorces when the woman is a college graduate. But when the woman has less education or no degree, women initiate around 90% of divorces. Think about that. The more empowered and independent a woman becomes, the more likely the man is to pull the plug. Why? Because college educated men are waking up faster. They see the game for what it is. They see that independence often translates to I keep my income, you pay for everything. And if I get bored, I take half your shit and the kids too. And the courts back her up 90% of the time. In divorce settlements, women get primary custody in roughly 85 to 90% of cases, even when both parents are fit. Men pay child support and alimony that can last decades, while she moves on with the new guy who doesn't have to pay a dime for the kids he didn't father. And don't give me the tired line that men abandon their kids. The data shows men fight for custody and lose because the system assumes mothers are inherently better parents. Period. That's not equality. That's prejudice baked into law. And women fought tooth and nail to keep it that way. But it gets worse. We've created an entire generation of women who openly brag about having high body counts, riding the cock carousel in their 20s, then expecting a stable, high value man to wife them up in their 30s like nothing happened. Social media is flooded with videos of women laughing about having 30, 50, 100 partners, calling men insecure for caring, and then wondering why no decent guy wants to commit. Gentlemen, pair bonding is real. Science shows oxytocin and vasopressin bonding strength decreases with each new sexual partner, especially for women. The data from the National Marriage Project and countless studies show that the more premarital partners a woman has, the higher the chance of divorce. A woman with 0 to 1 partners has about a 5 to 10% chance of divorce in the first 5 years. Jump to 10 plus partners, and that risk skyrockets past 30 to 40%. Those aren't opinions, those are statistics women don't want you to know. And yet, these same women demand a man who makes 6 figures, is over 6 feet tall, has a full head of hair, no kids from previous relationships, makes them laugh, listens to them vent for hours, pays for everything, and never complains when she gains 50 pounds after the wedding. Meanwhile, the average woman today is overweight, in debt, medicated, entitled, and brings nothing to the table but demands the world. I'm not exaggerating. CDC data shows over 60% of women under 40 are either overweight or obese. Average student loan debt for women is higher than ever. Mental health issues are through the roof, with antidepressant use among young women double that of men. And somehow men are supposed to ignore all of that and man up because why exactly? Let's talk about dating apps because that's where the rubber meets the road and the illusion completely collapses. On Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, whatever, the top 5 to 10% of men get 90% of the attention. The average guy gets almost zero matches. Women swipe right on less than 5% of men, while men swipe right on about 50% of women. That means for every 100 men a woman sees, she rejects 95 of them instantly. But then these same women complain there are no good men left. No, there are millions of good men. You just priced yourselves out of the market with unrealistic standards fueled by Instagram filters, OnlyFans delusions, and the top 1% of men who will pump and dump you and never commit. And here's the part that enrages me the most. Women knew this was happening. They saw the red pill content, the MGTOW movement, the men going their own way. And instead of reflecting, they doubled down. They mocked men for coping, called us basement dwellers, told us we'd die alone with our video games. Well, guess what? We're perfectly fine dying alone if the alternative is financial ruin, false accusations, and a lifetime of being disrespected. We'd rather have peace than a parasite. Now, let's talk about the consequences. The part women are starting to feel but still refuse to acknowledge. Birth rates are collapsing across the Western world. The United States is at 1.6 children per woman, well below replacement level of 2.1. Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, they're all dying because women decided career and living my best life was more important than family. And now there's no one to pay into the pension systems, no one to take care of the elderly, no next generation. Entire societies are heading toward demographic destruction, and women were the primary drivers behind delaying or avoiding marriage and kids altogether. Women over 30 are panicking. They're flooding dating apps, lowering their standards a little, making TikToks crying about where all the good men went. Articles in the Atlantic, New York Times, and Washington Post are finally admitting there's a loneliness epidemic among young women. Young women. The ones who spent their prime years chasing Chad and Thundercock now can't figure out why the nice guy from high school who makes 50,000 a year isn't lining up to wife them up at 35 with 3 kids from 2 different baby daddies. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Single motherhood is exploding, and we all know how that turns out. Boys raised without fathers are exponentially more likely to end up in prison on drugs or dead. Girls raised in single mother homes are more likely to repeat the cycle. The black community has about 73% single motherhood rate has been a warning to everyone else for decades, but instead of learning the lesson, we normalized it across all races. And who's paying the price? Society as a whole, but especially the boys growing up without male role models because mom decided she didn't need a man after cashing out in divorce court. Women are lonelier than ever. A 2023 study showed women under 30 report higher rates of loneliness and mental health issues than men for the first time in recorded history. Why? Because their cats and wine and boss babe empowerment didn't fill the void that biology and reality created. Men adapted. We found hobbies, gyms, crypto, passports, peace. Women are just now realizing the party is over and the bill is due. And let's not forget the economy. Who do you think pays the majority of taxes that fund the welfare state women rely on? Men, single mothers, government assistance, subsidized housing, food stamps. Who funds it? Working men, many of whom will never have families of their own because women decided they weren't good enough. As more men check out, refusing to work 60 hours a week just to fund a system that hates them, we're already seeing the early stages of collapse. Tax revenue drops, governments print more money, inflation skyrockets, and the very women who celebrated men's destruction will be the first to suffer when the safety net disappears. This is only the beginning, brothers. The wall is undefeated, and it's coming for every woman who thought she could have it all without consequence. Men are building lives of freedom, wealth, and peace abroad or at home, while women are left holding the bag of their own making. But here's where the story gets even darker for women who still think this is all some big joke or that men are just coping. The men who are walking away aren't the losers, the broke guys, the basement dwellers they love to mock on TikTok. No. The men walking away en masse right now are the engineers making 200K plus, the tradesmen pulling in 150K a year with no degree, the entrepreneurs, the remote workers, the crypto millionaires, the guys with options. These are the men who actually have something to lose, and they've done the math. They've watched their fathers get destroyed, their brothers get cleaned out, their friends lose everything to a woman who decided she was unhappy after 10 years and 3 kids. And they said, not me, never again. Let me paint you a picture of what a high value man sees today when he even considers dating seriously. He logs onto a dating app and sees women with bios that say no hookups, but their Instagram is full of thirst traps in lingerie. He sees, I don't need a man, just want someone to add to my already amazing life, which translates to pay for my lifestyle while I give you nothing. He sees, must be over 6 feet from a woman who is 5 feet 2 inches and 200 pounds. He sees fluent in sarcasm, which means she's going to disrespect him in front of his friends and call it banter. He sees love to travel, which means she wants him to fund her eat, pray, love fantasy while she posts pictures with other guys in Bali. And when he dares point any of this out, he's called toxic, insecure, controlling. And so what does he do? He deletes the apps. He focuses on his money, his gym routine, his business, his peace. He gets a vasectomy at 28 because he refuses to pay child support for 18 years to a woman who will weaponize his kid against him. He moved to Thailand, Colombia, Poland, Dubai, places where women still value masculinity, family, and femininity. Places where a man is respected for providing and protecting, not treated like a villain for existing with a penis. And women are shocked and absolutely shocked. They're making videos right now in 2025 with titles like "Where Have All the Good Men Gone?" and "Why Won't Men Approach Anymore?" As if they didn't spend the last decade telling men that approaching women in public is creepy, that catcalling is harassment, even if it's just saying hello, that unsolicited compliments are assault. They demanded men read their minds, get explicit verbal consent for every single touch, and then complain that dating feels transactional. Well, congratulations. You made it transactional. You turned romance into a legal minefield where one wrong move means your life is over. Remember hashtag Me Too? Remember how women cheered as men's careers were destroyed on mere accusations? No trial, no evidence, just believe all women. How many men lost everything because a woman decided 20 years later that she regretted a hookup? Johnny Depp was one of the few who fought back and won, but how many others couldn't afford to? Men watched that and learned date at your own risk. One false accusation and you're done. So millions of men decided the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Let's talk about female nature for a minute because this is the part women hate hearing but can't refute. Hypergamy doesn't care. Women are hardwired to branch swing to the better option. It's not evil, it's biology. But in a world with no social consequences, no stigma for divorce, no pressure to stay, women follow that instinct without restraint. She marries the stable guy at 28, has kids, then at 35 meets the hotter, richer guy at the gym or work, and boom, divorce papers. She gets the house, the kids, the alimony, the child support, and the new guy gets to play stepdad without paying for the privileges. The ex-husband, he gets depression, self-deletion ideation. Men are 4 times more likely to kill themselves after divorce and works until he's 70 to fund his replacement. And women knew this. They knew the system rewarded bad behavior. They knew they could cheat, get bored, or just fall out of love and walk away with a fat check every month. And they did it anyway, over and over, until men finally adapted. Now we're seeing the great reversal. Men are becoming the prize. Men are vetting women ruthlessly. Men are demanding prenups, separate finances, paternity tests at birth. And yes, 1 in 10 men are raising kids that aren't theirs. Look it up. Men are refusing to commit until women prove they're worth the risk over years, not months. And women hate it. They're screaming about audacity when a man asks for a traditional woman who cooks, cleans, and respects him. They're calling it misogyny when men want a woman with a low body count and no OnlyFans history. But the market has spoken. The sexual marketplace is correcting itself in real time. Women had unlimited options in their 20s because youth and beauty are currency. They spent that currency on the worst men imaginable: tattooed bad boys, drug dealers, musicians, guys with no jobs but great abs. Then they hit 30 to 35, fertility plummets, eggs dry up, and suddenly they want the stable guy they ignored at 25. But that guy, he's 38 now, makes 300,000, lifts weights, has a passport full of stamps, and zero interest in a used up single mom who partied away her prime years. I want you to really let this sink in. There are millions of men right now living better lives than any king in history had 200 years ago. They have air conditioning, infinite food, global travel, porn, better than anything kings had access to, video games, crypto gains, home gyms, and complete peace of mind. They wake up when they want, eat what they want, travel where they want, and answer to no one. No nagging, no drama, no walking on eggshells, no "where are you going" texts, no weaponized sex, no threats of divorce, rape. And women offer what exactly in exchange for giving all that up? Attitude, debt, baggage, stepkids, a 50% plus chance of divorce where she gets rewarded for destroying your life. No thanks. We're building brotherhoods now. Men are linking up in gyms, in masterminds, in crypto communities, in expat groups. We're teaching each other how to make money, how to stay jacked, how to get passports, how to live like kings on $3,000 a month in paradise. Women are excluded from these spaces because we've learned the hard way that letting them in destroys everything. Look at any male space that goes co ed, it dies within months. Gaming, comics, tech, you name it. Women are starting to feel the cold grip of reality. Their social media echo chambers are cracking. Their girl power anthems ring hollow when they're 37, childless, and their cat just died. Their therapists are making bank listening to them cry about how there are no good men left, but never telling them the truth. You priced yourself out. You listened to bitter feminists instead of your grandmothers. You thought you could have it all. But biology doesn't negotiate, and the loneliness statistics are brutal. Women initiate 80+% of divorces, but then report higher rates of loneliness post divorce. Why? Because men move on faster, men rebuild, men find purpose in work, hobbies, brothers. Women thought their social circles and wine nights would sustain them forever, but those friends are all competing for the same dwindling pool of eligible men. And the craziest part? Women still refuse to take accountability. It's always men's fault. Men need to step up. Men need to lower their standards. Men need therapy. Men are the problem. Never once do you hear a mainstream female voice say, maybe we went too far. Maybe demonizing masculinity, destroying the family court system, celebrating single motherhood, and treating men like disposable utilities wasn't the empowerment we thought it was. Instead, they're doubling down. They're freezing their eggs at 39, success rate under 10%. They're becoming dog moms and aunties. They're making content about how they're married to themselves and don't need a man. Fine. Enjoy your delusion while the wall approaches at 100 miles per hour. Men, we're thriving. Self deletion rates among young men are dropping for the first time in decades because we're opting out of the self deletion mission that modern relationships became. We're lifting heavier, making more money, traveling more, and smiling more. We're getting vasectomies in record numbers. Vasectomy rates among childless men under 30 have tripled in the last 5 years. We're moving abroad in droves. American men are the fastest growing expat group in Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. This is the biggest story of our generation. And the media is terrified to cover it honestly because it would require admitting that feminism sold women a lie that destroyed the very thing they claim to want: loving, lasting relationships with good men. But it's too late. The genie is out of the bottle. Men have tasted freedom, and we're not going back. We're not going back to being ATM machines. We're not going back to tolerating disrespect. We're not going back to relationships where we do all the work and get none of the benefits. Women had their chance. They chose chaos over partnership. They chose ideology over biology. They chose short term validation over long term happiness. And now they get to live with the consequences. And, brothers, if you're watching this and you're still on the fence, let me say this clearly: walking away isn't giving up, it's leveling up, it's reclaiming your life, your peace, your future. It's refusing to play a game that's rigged against you from the start. The future belongs to men who understand this truth. Let me slow this down now and tell you a story that plays out in 1,000 variations every single day in 2025, because numbers are cold, but stories hit you in the chest. I want you to picture a guy named Ryan, 34 years old, software engineer, pulls in 220,000 a year, base plus stock, lives in Austin, hits the gym 5 days a week, 6 feet one, clean cut, no kids, no debt, no criminal record, owns a condo outright. By every possible metric that women claim they want, Ryan is top 5% material. Ryan got out of a 4 year relationship in 2022. His ex was a 29-year-old marketing manager making 90,000. Cute when she tried, but gained 65 pounds over the course of the relationship, stopped initiating sex after year 2, spent most evenings scrolling TikTok and complaining about how stressed she was while Ryan cooked, cleaned, planned dates, and paid for 90% of everything. When he finally sat her down and said, "This isn't working for me," she cried, promised to change, went to the gym exactly 3 times, and then 6 months later told him she was no longer in love and moved out. She kept the $8,000 dog they adopted together, kept half the furniture he paid for, and immediately started posting thirst traps with captions about new chapter, boss babe era. Ryan took a month off dating, got jacked, traveled to Japan and Portugal alone, and decided to try the apps again in early 2024 because a couple buddies convinced him there are still good ones out there. In the span of 9 months, Ryan went on 47 first dates. 47. He spent roughly $9,500 on drinks, dinners, Ubers, and activities. Out of those 47 women, 31 were overweight or obese. 18 had OnlyFans or backup Instagram accounts with bikini paywalled content. 29 had student loan debt over 80,000. 22 lived in apartments that looked like Hoarders Anonymous. 41 talked about their toxic ex within the first hour. And exactly 00 offered to split the bill on a first date. The ones who were attractive enough to get a second date suddenly became too busy when he wouldn't commit to exclusivity after date 3, or they tried to pressure him into a relationship before he'd even seen them without filters. One girl straight up told him on date 4, "I'm dating for marriage and I want kids in the next 3 years. So if you're not ready," Ryan looked at her, did the math in his head. 21% chance of divorce initiated by her. 50-50 shot she blows up to 200 pounds after the ring. 85% chance he loses his future children in custody battle, and said, "Yeah, I'm not the guy for you." She called him a fuckboy on her Instagram story the next day. Ryan deleted the apps in October 2024, got a golden retriever puppy, started training jujitsu twice a week, put another 50,000 into Bitcoin when it dipped under 60,000, and hasn't looked back since. He told me last week over wings and beer, quote, "Bro, I make more money single, sleep better, train harder, travel whenever I want, and the only person who gets mad at me is my dog when I forget to buy treats. Why the hell would I ever go back?" Multiply Ryan by 5 million. That's where we are right now in late 2025. The Ryans of the world aren't crying in their basements. They're living like minor celebrities on 4-day work weeks, flying to Medellin for a long weekend because direct flights are $180 round trip, dating 22-year-old Colombian women who cook arepas in lingerie and call them mi amor without irony. They're stacking crypto, building home gyms that look like Equinox, and laughing at TikToks of 36-year-old women with blue hair crying into ring lights about how men ain't shit. And the women who spent the last decade telling these Ryans they weren't tall enough, rich enough, exciting enough, or emotionally available enough are now waking up to an empty inbox and a biological clock that sounds like a fire alarm. They're paying $1,200 a session to freeze eggs that have a 7% chance of ever becoming a baby. They're adopting rescue dogs and calling them my baby, while secretly hating the smell of dog piss in their apartments. They're going to Taylor Swift concerts in groups of 8 childless women in their mid 30s wearing matching glitter outfits and pretending they're still 24. They're posting glow up reels with captions like, "Took me 37 years to love myself," while the camera shakes because their ring light just broke and they can't afford a new one after buying Stanley Cups and Lululemon leggings they never work out in. Let me read you some real comments I pulled from a viral TikTok last week. Woman in her early 40s, decent looking for her age, crying on camera. "I did everything right. I have a master's degree, my own house, a good job. I go to therapy. I'm healed. I'm in the best shape of my life. Where are all the men?" The top comments, not from angry incels, from regular guys. "We're in Thailand. We're at the gym. We're counting our Bitcoin. We're walking the dog you said we'd never have time for. We're on a plane to Poland." One guy just posted a photo of his passport stamped in Dubai and wrote, "This is where we went." 1.8 million likes. That video got 23 million views, and the woman turned comments off after 3 days because the ratio was nuclear. That's not a one off. That's every week now. The mask is off. The coping accusations don't land anymore because men aren't coping. They're winning quietly, peacefully, and without apology. Let's talk about the passport bros phenomenon because in 2025, it's no longer a fringe thing. American men are now the number one demographic moving to countries like Thailand, Philippines, Colombia, Mexico, and Eastern Europe for extended periods or permanently. US Embassy data shows a 340% increase in American males aged 25 to 45 registering long term residencies in Southeast Asia compared to 2019. Digital nomad visas in places like Bali, Medellin, and Bucharest are overwhelmingly issued to single men. These aren't broke losers. The average income of a digital nomad in 2025 is $142,000 a year. These are Ryans. They're making American salaries, living like kings on $2,500 a month, dating women who are fit, feminine, happy to cook, eager to please, and don't have an Instagram full of middle fingers and independent woman quotes. And before anyone screams colonialism or whatever, spare me. These men aren't buying brides. They're dating women who grew up in cultures that still value family, respect, and traditional gender roles because those cultures haven't been poisoned by third wave feminism yet. Women there see a fit, financially stable Western man as a prize, not a threat. They say thank you when you pay for dinner. They dress up for dates. They don't call you toxic for wanting to lead. And when you tell them you want kids one day, they light up instead of lecturing you about overpopulation and career goals. Meanwhile, back in the West, women are importing third world men through refugee programs and dating apps because local men won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. Look at Europe right now. Sweden, Germany, UK. Crime is through the roof. No go zones in major cities, and Western women are still simping for the same demographics that are causing the problems because at least those guys have confidence and aren't afraid of their masculinity. The irony is thicker than the walls they're hitting. I want to drill down on fertility for a minute because this is the silent scream no one wants to talk about. In 2025, the average age of a first time mother in the United States is 31.4 and climbing fast. That's insane. In 1970, it was 21.4. Women are waiting until their fertility is already in sharp decline to even start trying. And when they do, half of them need IVF that costs $20,000 to $100,000 a cycle with no guarantee. Success rates for women over 35 are under 30% per cycle, under 10% over 40. Egg freezing, a scam for 95% of women. The data out of clinics in 2025 shows live birth rates from frozen eggs under age 35 is about 39% total, and it plummets after that. Most women who freeze eggs never even use them because by the time they're ready, they still can't find a man willing to commit to a 39-year-old with frozen eggs and a list of demands longer than a CVS receipt. And society is paying for it. Billions in taxpayer money, mostly from men, are subsidizing IVF, single mother welfare, and the coming elder care crisis when these childless women hit 70 with no kids and no savings because they spent everything on brunches and vacations in their 20s and 30s. The wall isn't just undefeated, it's expanding. It's a tsunami now. And it's not just hitting the obvious ones, the loud, entitled, blue haired types. It's hitting the high value women too. The lawyers, the doctors, the executives who thought their degrees in corporate jobs made them immune to biology. They're 5 feet 6 inches, make 150,000, Botox to hell, still hot at 38, and their DMs are full of guys who want to smash but ghost the second marriage or kids comes up. They're realizing too late that being a strong, independent woman doesn't keep you warm at night and doesn't push a stroller. I see it every single day in the comments on my videos, in the emails I get, in the private Discord groups. Men in their 20s and 30s sending me screenshots of their crypto portfolios hitting seven figures. Photos of them on beaches in Thailand with beautiful young women hanging off their arm. Messages that just say, "Thank you for waking me up 2 years ago. Life is unreal now. That's the new normal." Women created this reality. They demanded it. They cheered for it. They voted for politicians who made the laws that incentivized it. They shamed men who warned about it. And now that the bill has come due, they want sympathy. They want men to fix it. They want us to come running back and save them from the consequences of their own choices. No, we're done. We're not angry anymore. Anger was phase one. This is phase three, total detachment, peaceful, profitable, permanent detachment. The red pill isn't a phase, it's a cure, and there is no blue pill antidote. Let's pull the camera back even further now, because what's happening between men and women isn't just a dating crisis, it's the opening act of a full scale societal collapse that historians in 200 years are going to write entire books about if there's anyone left to read them. By November 2025, the numbers are no longer whispering, they're screaming. Total fertility rate in the United States just dropped to 1.57, the lowest in recorded history. South Korea is at 0.72. That means for every 100 women having children today, they're only replacing 36 of themselves in the next generation. In 25 years, those countries will have half the working age population they have today, but the same number of retirees collecting benefits. Do the math on that pension bomb yourself. Japan is already there. 1 in 10 people is over 80. Adult diapers now outsell baby diapers, and the government is paying young people $10,000 just to move out of Tokyo because the countryside is emptying out. And who drove this collapse? Women who were told from kindergarten that marriage and children were oppression, that settling down was settling, that they could have it all if they just got the right degree and leaned in hard enough. They were sold a fantasy by corporations who wanted cheap female labor and by feminists who wanted ideological purity. The result? An entire civilization that stopped reproducing because half of it decided motherhood was a trap and the other half decided risking everything for that half wasn't worth it. The economic fallout is already here. Real estate in major cities is starting to crack because there are no young families buying three-bedroom houses anymore. Schools in California, New York, and Illinois are closing by the hundreds. Elementary school enrollment fell 12% in just 5 years. Who do you think pays the property taxes that fund those schools? Childless men and childless women in their 40s and 50s who are about to get hit with massive tax increases to keep the lights on for a shrinking student body. The same women who said, my body, my choice about kids, are about to say, your wallet, my retirement, when Social Security goes bankrupt in 2034. Look at the corporate world, too. Companies spent the last decade bending over backwards with DEI initiatives, maternity leave that lasts a year, women in tech pipelines, only to watch birth rates crater and their future customer base disappear. Procter and Gamble just laid off 7,000 people quietly because sales of Pampers are in free fall. Disney's box office is getting obliterated because the 18 to 34 female demographic that used to drag their boyfriends to every Marvel movie is now too broke from student loans and rent to go to the theater. The birth rate collapse is going to make the 2008 housing crash look like a hiccup. And still, the mainstream response from women is denial and blame shifting. Articles in Vogue and Cosmopolitan in 2025 are running headlines like The Rise of the Child Free Life, Why More Women Than Ever Are Choosing Happiness Over Diapers. They interview 31-year-old influencers in Manhattan apartments with $6,000 a month rent, surrounded by houseplants and Stanley Cups, talking about how liberating it is to not have kids. They never interview those same women 10 years later when the plants are dead, the friends have moved to the suburbs with their husbands and babies, and the silence in that apartment is deafening. And I want you to think about your grandmother for a second. Most of our grandmothers were married by 22, had their first kid by 24, and their biggest worry was whether the pot roast would be ready when grandpa got home from work. They didn't have washing machines half the time, no air conditioning, no internet, no birth control pill, and yet they were happier than 90% of women today, according to every happiness survey ever conducted. Gallup just released a study in October 2025 showing married mothers under 50 are the happiest demographic in America, while single childless women over 35 are the most depressed, anxious, and medicated group on the entire chart. Let that sink in. The path women were told was slavery is the one that actually leads to fulfillment, and the path they were told was empowerment leads straight to a bottle of Zoloft and a vibrator that needs new batteries every month. But biology is an absolute bastard. It doesn't care about your master's degree, your corner office, your healed inner child, or your vision board. Eggs have an expiration date, and no amount of manifesting is going to change that. By age 30, a woman's fertility has already dropped 50% from its peak. By 35, it's in free fall. By 40, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than conceiving naturally in any given month. And women feel this on a visceral level now. That's why you're seeing this explosion of panic content. I'm 33 and my doctor just told me my AMH is low. I broke up with my ex at 29 and now I regret it. Why does it feel like all the good men are taken or gay? They know. Deep down, they know. But admitting it would mean admitting the last 15 years of their life was built on a lie sold to them by people who hated men and traditional family. Meanwhile, men have quietly engineered the greatest wealth transfer in human history. We stopped spending money on women and started spending it on ourselves. The luxury watch market is booming, but it's all men buying Rolexes and Apes for themselves. High-end men's grooming is a $90 billion industry now. Sports cars? Men are buying them at record rates, but the passenger seat stays empty. Crypto, stocks, real estate abroad, men are stacking like never before because we no longer have a $500 a month girlfriend tax, a $2,000 engagement ring bill, a $40,000 wedding, and a 50% plus chance of losing it all in 5 years. Look at the data out of Dubai right now. The number of single Western men moving there permanently tripled between 2022 and 2025. They're buying apartments on the Palm, driving G-Wagons, and dating Lebanese, Russian, and Emirati women who still believe in femininity. The same thing is happening in Miami, Austin, and Nashville, pockets of the West where men can still live well. But even those are getting crowded, so the smart ones are leaving entirely. And women's response? They're starting to chase. You're seeing it now in 2025. American and British women in their mid 30s flooding into Colombia, Thailand, and Turkey trying to become passport sisters. They show up with their bad attitudes, their demands for equal partnership, their refusal to cook or clean, and wonder why the local men laugh and the Western men already there won't give them the time of day. There's a reason you don't see passport sister success stories going viral, because it doesn't work when the gender roles are reversed. Men abroad want feminine women, not feminists with standards longer than their credit card debt. The cruelty of all this is that the women who figure it out the soonest, the ones in their early 20s who are watching their older sisters and aunts crash into the wall, are the ones who still have a shot. They're the ones DMing red pill creators, quietly asking for advice. They're deleting their Instagram hoe face photos, learning how to cook, hitting the gym, dressing feminine, and locking down a good man before he gets his passport and disappears forever. Those girls are going to be fine. The rest, they're going to learn the hard way that time is the only currency that never comes back. I want every man watching this to understand something viscerally. This is not reversible. There is no great awakening coming where millions of 38-year-old women suddenly become pleasant, fit, debt free, and eager to submit. That's a fantasy. The wall doesn't negotiate. The market has corrected. The power has shifted permanently. Your peace is the most expensive thing you own. Guard it with your life. Your time is the only non renewable resource. Spend it on people who deserve it. Your seat is literal power. Do not give it to a woman who hasn't earned the right to carry it. Your money is freedom. Never exchange it for drama. That's the new code. And millions of us are living it right now, today, in November 2025. And it feels like breathing fresh air after being underwater for a decade. So, what do you think, brothers? Did any of this hit home? Do you agree that women created this mess and now have to lie in it? Or do you think there's still hope for the West? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and the best ones get pinned. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.